Patrick Frazee was booked on first-degree murder charges when he was arrested.
The district attorney's office filed 5 felony counts against Mr. Frazee, 2 counts of first-degree murder.
Seems completely out of character.
A Colorado man who's suspected of murdering his fiancee will face a judge.
We filed under 2 theories. One is deliberation murder, and the other is felony murder.
A lot of people that know him were just completely shocked and surprised.
So Patrick Frazee, the Colorado man accused in the murder and disappearance of his fiancee Kelsey Berreth, expected back in court next hour. He's going to learn whether or not he'll actually see the arrest affidavit and, more importantly, the actual evidence prosecutors are mounting against him. All this while police in Twin Falls, Idaho say they are returning what they're describing as sensitive evidence to Colorado investigators. To help sort through all this, let's bring back a friend of the program, Bob Bianchi. He's a former prosecutor following this case very closely. Let's talk about whether or not Frazee should see this arrest affidavit. That's what's at stake today, or what we're going to find out. Give us 2 sides. If you're a prosecutor, why don't you want him to see it right now?
Well, the prosecutors are arguing, Mike, that first of all, they don't have the body yet, and that there's other evidence and potential witnesses that they are still trying to investigate. What they are alleging is that if they release the arrest affidavit with the specific facts of why it is that they arrested him, that the defendant and or others may either attempt to destroy evidence, move the body. The investigation may be potentially dangerous for witnesses who apparently cooperated with law enforcement. So what they're asking the court is, hey, judge, we don't need to give this to him right now until our investigation is complete. Now, that can't be indefinitely, Mike, because eventually the due process rights of the defendant to know the evidence against them, they will eventually have to turn it over. They're just trying to tell the court, the prosecutors, hey, judge, let's just slow it down a little bit here.
Gotcha. Because the timeline reportedly is 1 week. That's how long he will not be able to see this arrest affidavit. Then the 29th of January, that's where we're going to get a preliminary hearing and more evidence will be unveiled at that point. Do you think that's a fair timeline for both sides?
You know, it's hard to say on the prosecution side. I've handled murder investigations. It's taken me months to come to conclusion. I've actually sealed arrest affidavits myself with the permission of the court until I was concluding it. But if the prosecutors believe that they can do everything they need to do in a week, then so be it. That certainly is not going to harm the defendant's ability to confront the evidence against them, because we're in such a preliminary stage of this.
Gotcha. The other point I'd mention, potential sensitive evidence going from Idaho to Colorado, and also a woman suspected of discarding Kelsey Berreth's cell phone, which we know had pinged a couple of days after she was seen at a grocery store in Colorado. So tell me about that side of it here. This woman being looked into, phone chucked. How's that impact things?
Yeah, this is a significant fact, very favorable to the prosecution from the looks of it. They're indicating that this person who is connected to the defendant, to Frazee, actually had the phone, managed to manipulate the phone. Mike, you may remember that when the phone was calling, pinging off towers in Idaho, sending messages to the victim's employer saying that she was going to be away for a week or 2, this nurse in Idaho may be the individual who was doing that. But the major thing that's important here is that it's connecting somebody that the defendant knows to the crime. The prosecutors will have now additional evidence to show that it's Frazee who is the person because he gave this phone to the nurse. The nurse may flip and actually testify on behalf of the prosecution. We don't know yet. And remember, in this case, what we're finding out that's very important is that apparently the defendant, Frazee, had been planning this for about 2 months. So all of these factors taken together will make this a very solid, premeditated murder case. And what that means is all these possible defenses like passion provocation or manslaughter, or all the things that defense lawyers try to do to lessen the gravity of a premeditated murder, are going to go out the door with the development of this new evidence.
Yeah, and to complete that timeline, looking at the charging documents, authorities believe Frazee tried to find someone to kill Kelsey 3 times between, as you mentioned, September and November. That could have been the same person asked 3 different times, 3 different people. All that, I'm sure we'll find out in due time what authorities believe. Great work, Bob. Thanks again. Bob Bianchi on the story for us. All right, let's get you some headlines.